Aiden says, "Hi, Zach. I'm a Michigan fan, and I'm actually very proud of the way the boys played against Ohio State on Saturday. But my question is, will Michigan always be a second-tier program? They're always behind Ohio State, Penn State, and other powers in the country, and I don't think they will ever be able to get to that next tier. Keep up the good work, Aiden." Here's the truth about Michigan football. They're more similar to Stanford than they are similar to Ohio State. They just lost to Ohio State. There's a lot to unpack here, first of all. Number one, they lost to Ohio State the other day, a week and a half ago now. 56-20, maybe 2 weeks ago now. 56-27 is what they lost to Ohio State. And all things considered, that's not terrible. A lot of people consider Ohio State to be the best team in like 20 years, maybe longer in college football. And all around, Ohio State is a better program than Michigan. They're a bigger brand. That's where high school football players that want to play in the NFL go. There's a couple schools. If you're a top recruit in college, in high school, and your goal is to play in the NFL, you don't care about competition, you know you're one of the best in your position, you're going to walk into a spot and eventually be a starter at that program, you probably pick Clemson, Alabama, or Ohio State because that's where NFL players go to get on their way to the NFL. So Ohio State's a bigger brand, right? It's Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, and then a smattering of other programs and other schools. But the bigger deal with Michigan is that academic standards hurt Michigan. First of all, getting guys to be accepted into the school is tough. You're limited by the grade point average. It's hard to get guys into Michigan football. They're more limited than other schools are because their standards and expectations are higher for their students. It's also a rigorous school. If I'm a student athlete and I can go to Michigan or Ohio State, and I know that at Michigan my classes are going to be really tough, I'm going to have a ton of homework. Literally, the classes are going to be harder, and it's going to be more strain on me and more difficult to focus on football. Would you want to go to Michigan when you can have an easier life and go to another program and focus more on football? It's a hard sell. The fact that Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of Michigan, consistently wins 10 games a year at Michigan. When you recognize that Michigan has really tough academic standards, and they're more like Stanford than they are like Ohio State, I think you got to give Jim Harbaugh more slack. Nobody really understands that it's not just getting guys into the school. You're also you got more going on. I went to a really tough academic school my freshman year of college and played football. And it's so hard when you have like a ton of homework and you got to go to practice and weights and this. It's a lot. And it makes it more difficult to be a student athlete when you got all that going on. And because of academic standards, it makes it hard for Michigan, particularly Michigan, to compete with schools like Ohio State that has still good programs at Ohio State, but they're not as rigorous and the standards aren't quite as high. And so, aside from Ohio State, you got to recognize that Michigan still mostly dominates the Big Ten. And I think because of all that, everything I just said, I think truthfully, people got to appreciate Jim Harbaugh more. He's done an incredible job at Michigan. I think you got to just say, look, he's doing the best he can. And I think Michigan's standards and their expectations are a little bit skewed and crazy. If they think they're going to be Alabama or Clemson or Ohio State, it's just not going to happen in that program. It's not possible, I don't think, with what they have and the academic standards they have in place at Michigan.